Tommy Jaggi of Fansided here with NFL expert Marcus Mosher. And we've reached such a wonderful time because training camps are back around the NFL. Football is here finally. I'm excited for it. First week of training camp underway.
It's the best time of the year, right? Everybody's excited about their teams. We have preseason games just around the corner. We know that football is coming. The best part is you go on social media and your timeline is just filled with football news. It's amazing. No more soccer. Get baseball out of here. It's time to talk about football.
We don't have a lot to talk about in terms of actual notable notes from training camp so far. We're very early in the process. We'll get to that for sure, maybe even by next week. But we do have a lot of news around the NFL and some buzz, some rumors, some trade speculation, contract speculation. That's the kind of stuff that I want to get to today, Marcus, because it could really impact the league. And let's start right here with a pair of really talented running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. Are they holding out or holding in rather? Like, these guys want to get paid, and I don't blame them. And you and I subscribe to the motto of running backs don't matter until they do. And running games matter for sure. We can agree on that. There's only a handful of running backs that truly matter out there. And I do think that these two matter.
Yeah, and they're also just hitting the market, or their contracts are up at the right time. They're both coming off monster years, and you can make the argument that these are the two best running backs in the NFL right now, and they're both executing hold-ins. And this is something that we've seen across the league over the last couple of years. We saw it last year with Micah Parsons. We've seen it before with like TJ Watt in Pittsburgh. It's happening again with Joey Porter with the Steelers this year. It's not as detrimental to the team when the player's there. He's on the sidelines. He's going through meetings, but he's not actually practicing. I do think both of these deals will eventually get done, partially because they're such big parts of their offenses, right? And I think for like someone like Jahmyr Gibbs, with David Montgomery gone, the Lions fancy themselves as a playoff team. They kind of have to get this deal done.
Yeah.
But if you're the Lions, do you give Jahmyr Gibbs $21 million a year, $22 million a year? I know you can make the argument like that's wide receiver 2 money in the NFL. And if he's going to get 350 touches, why not give him the salary that he's asking? I do think this is going to get done rather quickly, though.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the money that we're looking at. Saquon Barkley is the only running back in NFL history to top that 20 million mark, 20.6 million in per year value. Christian McCaffrey below that at 19 million. We had to assume these guys are younger, they're fresher, they don't have as much wear and tear. As good as Barkley was, why wouldn't their agency be asking for 21, 22? Are they going to go above and beyond? Like, we saw a true market reset at the center position this year with Tyler Linderbaum just crushing the previous leader. Is that possible where they can go like far above and beyond that 21 million mark?
I mean, I don't see why not. Again, Bijan and Gibbs are both incredibly young. They're coming off monster seasons. And this is kind of the types of players that you need to reset the market. I mean, last year you saw Bijan Robinson have 2,200 yards from scrimmage. He had double-digit touchdowns. I think he's somebody that should be asking for 23 or 24 million a year and kind of set that next market for guys like Ashton Genty and Jeremiah Love who are coming down the pipe. So, yeah, I do expect to see a big market reset here.
Yeah, we know something is going to get done. I mean, these are two staples to these teams. The Lions, still a competitive team, not where they were when they were a 14-3 team a couple of years back. The Falcons, they're right there with their division. I mean, they're just as favored to win their division as anybody else, really. And so they don't want to lose these assets. They're young. They're valuable. Two of the most assets, but best assets to their respective teams. And what'll be interesting is to see who gets the contract first and how far above market value does this deal come in? How much does it crush the new market? That's what I'm interested in, because is it 21, 22 million? Or are we skyrocketing all the way up to like the 25, 26 million mark?
The other part of this is I'm sure there's a healthy competition between Gibbs and Bijan. I mean, these are both guys that were first-round picks, top 15 picks. You probably want to be the second one paid just because you're going to be the highest paid running back. And, I have to imagine that's factoring into these discussions as well. I'm sure neither of these guys wants to be the first paid, but they absolutely want paid. Maybe it doesn't get done then in the next week. Maybe it gets done closer to week 1, but I do expect both of these deals to get completed.
Yeah, and if you're a Lions or Falcons fan, you want your guy to get done first. It's just the better way to go, and then it's taken care of. You can get back to practicing, and we'll see how long this drags out. If you are tuned into Stacking the Box, where NFL fans come to talk, celebrate, and debate, for more coverage, hit up fansided.com, powered by the passionate fans at Fansided. Check out the wonderful work they're doing over there covering NFL training camps. Marcus, let's talk Vita Vea now. Is a trade coming? The big guy asked for a trade, and he's just good. He's, even at his age right now, he's good. He was part of a championship program when Tom Brady was there. Still one of the better defensive tackles in the league, and he wants out. I mean, what's the deal? What's going on with him right now?
He wants a new contract. Right now, he's set to make, I believe it's $18 million this season. And you look around the league at some of these defensive tackles, and we're going to talk about Jalen Carter here in a little bit. The defensive tackle position is no longer kind of second fiddle to edge rusher. Like, these guys are getting paid a lot of money, and Vita Vea is the best pure nose tackle in the league. And he's probably seeing guys like Jalen Carter and Dexter Lawrence and Jeffrey Simmons all get these new deals, and he wants one. But if you're Tampa Bay, I also understand why you might not want to do that. This is a team that feels like they are in transition. And I want to pair this, Tommy, with the conversation going around Baker Mayfield. Baker told the Buccaneers front office, if I do not have a new contract on day one of training camp, I am not signing a new deal, and I will be a free agent next year. Mm-hmm. He did not get a new contract. So now Baker is set to play on the last year of his deal. And I just wonder if Tampa Bay is looking at their roster. They let Mike Evans go this offseason. Levante David retired, and wondering, like, maybe this is the last year that we should keep this core. If we can't win the division like they didn't win it last year, maybe it's time to tear it down to the studs. And we don't really want to invest I'm making up a number, $36 million a year in a 32-year-old defensive tackle. He's an awesome player, but I would not be surprised if they do move on here.
Yeah, it's crazy the ripple effect that Baker can kind of have on this organization. You have to assume that is factoring into what these veterans on the team, what direction do they want to take? What direction is the franchise going to take? Because quite frankly, they're entering that limbo stage, and they need to pick a direction. Are they going to be all in or all out? And if they were all in, you would assume they would have handed Baker that contract, right? The fact that they didn't makes me think that maybe they are going to be content saying, hey, we made a run at it. It's time to turn the page. We need to start rebuilding. We've got an older roster. We have some young promising pieces, Emeka Egbuka and a few other guys, but I think it's probably time that they explore that.
Yeah, and I think this Tampa Bay team has been in my opinion, the worst division in the NFL over the last 3 years, right? Like, I don't think there's any division that's close. And they've had middling success. They've been hanging around that 8 to 9 win range. They have won a couple playoff games, but I don't think they've really taken advantage. And that's with Baker Mayfield on a very team-friendly deal. Now,
they had a big quarterback advantage over their division.
Yeah, they've had a big quarterback advantage. They also have had a cheap quarterback advantage. Baker Mayfield, I think, is looking at maybe the numbers that he could get in free agency, and there's no reason why he couldn't be the highest paid quarterback in the league if he hits the open market. Mm-hmm. We saw that happen with Tyler Linderbaum, who you just mentioned. But if you're the Buccaneers and you're paying Baker $33 million a year, do you really want to pay him $60 million a year when he's older and he's become more injury prone? I don't know. There's not also another good option out there for them to replace Baker right now. They're in a really tough spot.
Yeah, and there's no question that if they want to win their division, if they want to try to give it another run and make a playoff push, keeping Baker, keeping Vita Vea, keeping your veterans in place is the best way to do that. Already lost Mike Evans, but they have a chance at it. But I just feel like if it does not work out this year, maybe their mission should be clearly defined and say, hey, we gave it a shot. We did have the Super Bowl a few years back. We're going to hit the reset button. We're going to try this again. We're going to let him walk. Like, I think that maybe is the direction you're going. If you're a franchise, just thinking about it right now, like just any franchise out there, that's a lot of money to pay, even to Baker Mayfield, who was an MVP caliber player for the first half of last season, and then with a different story in the second half. I don't know if I could pay that much to him at this stage.
And the other possibility is that you could franchise tag him, although that's You don't really want to be messing around with the franchise tag because you're paying, I think it's $50 million for the franchise tag next year. And that money you can't be moved around. It's a $50 million cap hit. They only have, I think, $30 million in cap space right now. It just doesn't give you a lot of flexibility. This really feels like it could be the end of Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. And if you're even thinking about that option, maybe Vita Vea's contract is not the most important thing, and you consider trading him. Now, we also know that Vita Vea told Kay Adams that if he's traded, he wants to be traded to a Los Angeles team or the Raiders. The Chargers are a team that would certainly or could certainly use him. I do think he would have a lot of value. I don't think you'd get a first-round pick back from him, but I do think maybe a second, third-round pick is reasonable.
You watch the Rams find a way to get him over there with
they've
Miles
got no
Garrett.
cap space or no draft capital.
They'll make it work. If I had to ask you right now, Marcus, Vita Vea, is he traded or does he sign a contract, or third option, he just plays this out? What's most likely?
I think he gets traded. I do. Okay. I think he gets moved.
All right. Yeah. We'll keep tabs on that for sure, because that'll be an interesting storyline. Let's talk Ricky Pearsall here. Man, I feel bad for this guy. You talk about some unfortunate situations entering your NFL career. Shot, obviously, in San Francisco. That didn't help. Now has a PCL injury, and man, just a really rough career path. He's got 67 career catches, and he turns 26 years old already, believe it or not, entering his third NFL season at the start of the year. And by the time the season starts, he's going to be a 26-year-old receiver already. What's it looking like for him at this state? And there's guys on his heels already. This is a first-round pick we're talking about here.
It's a tough situation for the 49ers because Pearsall is somebody who struggled with injuries coming out of Florida, and now he just can't stay on the field in the NFL. And they were really relying on Pearsall to be the guy that can run all the intermediate routes. They brought in Mike Evans with the idea that he can be this outside vertical threat. But with Jennings gone, with Ayuk out of the picture, it was really going to be Pearsall who was going to be the every down receiver. We should also mention George Kittle coming off the torn Achilles. Christian McCaffrey had like over 400 touches last year. Mm. And now it seems like the status for Pearsall is up in the air. I think it was Adam Schefter who reported, that a surgery is an option for Pearsall, and a PCL surgery would be like a 9 to 12 month rehab, and the success rate isn't very good. So my guess is that they're going to try to manage the pain because they kind of need him. If he doesn't play, that would be a huge blow for San Francisco.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is a guy they counted on, first round investment at this stage, and for some of the pieces that they've lost, and they let Juwan Jennings walk, and so they were counting on this guy, and now he's got Deshaun Stribling pushing up his second round pick of this year. We'll see what happens, but not a good situation. We're looking for a breakout campaign. Hasn't topped like that 36 reception mark yet in his career. Year 3 ideally would have been a perfect time to do that, and now just another setback for Pearsall. So what do you think ultimately happens here? I know that we don't have a ton of medical information, but
my guess is that the 49ers are just going to try to manage it. Maybe keep him off the practice field for the next 3 or 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. Maybe they put him on a PUP list, and maybe the knee calms down. I know they would like for him to be fully healthy. I just don't know if that's an option. And I think with the risk of the PCL injury, plus where he's at this stage of his career, surgery is kind of the last thing that you want to do. I would expect the 49ers to try to figure out a way to get him on the field, maybe not in week 1, but with the games really, really matter.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're just out of options.
Yeah, they really are. If you want to hear more about Pearsall, NinerNoise.com, Fansided's associate site for their 49ers. Check out fansided.com. The highs, the heartbreaks, every headline. This is Stacking the Box, your source of NFL talk. All right. Let's talk Jalen Carter now. We just talked briefly about Vita Vea, the defensive tackle position, and what these guys are getting paid these days. Wowzers. I mean, did it escalate really, really fast? So over the last 2 years, guys like Milton Williams and Jordan Davis, who truly had part-time roles playing like 50, 60% of snaps, jumped up all the way to $26 million per year. And then there was Dexter Lawrence at 28, Chris Jones at 31.75. And then Jeffrey Simmons gets $35 million a year. And now Jalen Carter, $36 million a year, the richest defensive
38.
tackle. $38 million, excuse me, $38 million a year, richest defensive tackle in NFL history. I mean, if this is not a money five position, I don't know what is, because they've topped essentially everything besides quarterback, receiver, and edge at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an absurd amount of money. $106 million fully guaranteed. He could make up to $40 million per year if he hits some of the incentives. This is a bet on pure talent, and there might not be a defensive tackle in the NFL who is more talented than Jalen Carter. Having said that, this feels risky to me for a lot of different reasons. Number one, just on and off the field, I think he's not somebody that you can particularly trust. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't be a dominant player on Sundays, but we know why he fell a little bit in the draft, because he was probably the second best player in that draft behind Will Anderson. On top of that, I don't think we saw a player last year who was worthy of $38 million a year. If you look just based on Pro Football Focus grades, he was the 112th ranked run defender in the NFL. He had a 41.2 run defense grade. Still a good pass rusher. He was a top 10 pass rusher by just about every metric. But if you're paying that much money to a guy to be a foundational player, it seems like a lot.
I mean, it's an awful lot. And that's what I would question as well. If I'm an Eagles fan right now, it's like, was this the right decision? We know that he's got a little bit of a spotty past. And so you don't want to have that coming into play with a record-setting contract. And I would also ask, was it necessary to go far above and beyond what Jeffrey Simmons was making? I understand trying to be the leader in that department. We're talking $3 million more per year, but still, this is a guy that doesn't have a squeaky clean record. And if you just drop down a little bit, I mean, can you justify? And I know that this scales, and I know that we have the increased salary cap every year, but it's hard to justify guys who weren't paid that long ago. Should he be making $10 million more per season than Dexter Lawrence? Like, I feel like this scaled so fast. Where do we reach a breaking point? Especially like at this position, it's an important position. There's only so many good defensive tackles out there, but where's the breaking point where you have to put your foot down and say, I don't feel comfortable and I can't do this?
Obviously, it's not Jalen Carter. And I understand, like, you're paying him based on what you think he's going to do on his next contract. And this is where Howie Roseman is really good. Like, he's betting on these guys performing better. And we should mention, like, defensive tackle is historically a position that where the guys actually get better as they age a little bit. Yeah. And a lot of times they don't reach their primes until 28, 29, 30 years old. So I won't be surprised if we see a better version of Jalen Carter 2-3 years from now. And that's not usually the case when you're paying these huge contracts to players. Usually their primes are 24, 25 years old. But yeah, you're right. This is a lot of money. And we should also mention Howie Roseman also paid Jordan Davis a ton of money was it last offseason? They clearly are investing in this spot because they believe in it.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're a big proponent of the trenches, and what better way to do that than keep one of the best young defensive tackles in the league around. And if he stays clean off the field, I think this contract will be worth it because he truly is that talented. Now I'll put you on the spot here for a second. And I know we didn't get a chance to rehearse this or look this up, but who's next up here? Like what are some of the other defensive tackles who just saw what Jalen Carter got paid and is like, I want a piece of that action. Like, that's a lot of money. We look at some of the other guys just down the list. You dig down a little bit. Zach Allen at $25 million, Cam Hayward at $18 million. I mean, these guys are absolute bargains compared to what the new records setting contract is going for with Jalen Carter. Who's next up here? Like, I know this 2023 class, so Kobe Turner, Keanu Benton, those guys are due for contracts. Spot Rack already had Benton at $26 million a year. And I think that's rich as a Steelers fan. I think that's rich, but how much is this going to scale? How quickly?
I've got a couple players that I think I don't know if they're going to beat Jalen Carter, but maybe. I think Quinnen Williams, who has 2 years left on his deal, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys ultimately got a deal done there. Leonard Williams with the Seahawks was unbelievable last year. He's another one that could get that kind of money. Ed Oliver's contract is coming, I believe, this year, or excuse me, after this season. I don't know outside of Quinnen if you're going to have anybody anybody going to be able to get that high, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right, we need to talk about the Cleveland Browns here for a minute. And what are they doing? Because this team, I understand they need to pick a direction. And I wasn't completely opposed to the Myles Garrett trade. I understand the Browns are kind of a dumpster fire right now. They don't have a quarterback situation. Their offensive line is gone or retired. And they kind of need to rebuild from the studs up. They got some draft picks. They got Jared Verse, a really good football player. But why do all of that and then turn around and pay a soon-to-be 30-year-old cornerback in Denzel Ward? And the record-setting contract at the corner position, $31+ million per year, and then you paid Grant Delpit a multi-year contract extension. It seems a little counterintuitive to me to sign some veterans in the secondary, and yet you let the best defensive player of this generation and future Hall of Famer walk away.
A couple of different reasons. Number one, they've got a ton of cap space coming up, and I think they're expecting to draft a quarterback here in 2027. Again, that's why they wanted to go out and get the first round pick for the Rams, so that way they can maneuver. And I don't hate the idea of, hey, we've got all this young talent on offense who's all on rookie contracts. Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, Spencer Fano. Like, we can keep going. Like, they have so many young contracts on offense, and they've got to spend some money. I think the idea is if they can draft a quarterback next year, have them walk into a situation with a really good defense, or you at least hope a good defense, and then surround them with young playmakers on offense. Maybe that's the quickest way to turn this team into a contender. I also think Denzel Ward and Grant Delpit are culture guys. Like, they're leaders. And I think when you traded Myles Garrett, you want to reward the leaders in the locker room, because I think we like to think of the idea of like, oh, just trade all these guys for draft picks, but it might not be worth it trading Denzel Ward for a third-round pick right now. Maybe you are better off just keeping him and at least being competent on one side of the ball, because you don't want your organization to be thought of as a dumpster fire. And I guess you should be rewarding
for that.
Well, yeah, but you are trying to turn it around, right? And I think rewarding your best players with contracts is a good way to at least increase your reputation around the league.
I definitely get that. I understand where you're coming from. You don't want to be completely incompetent as an organization. You want to be somewhat competitive. You want to give your players hope and be able to run your offense, run your defense. In this case, though, it's like there's not a chance in the world that the Browns' window of contention lines up with Denzel Ward's career. There's just no chance of it. And
what if you get that quarterback next year, though? Because we saw like
I don't think so. Because Marcus Ward's going to be in his 30s already by next season. Cornerback, he could fall off at any point. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, had an amazing career, but he could be toast at any point. If I'd rather get something from him now than make him the richest cornerback in the NFL over the next 2 years. Like that's kind of my mentality.
See, first of all, we got to understand they have to spend cap space.
They do. There's so much cap you got to spend in a 3-year window.
And so you would rather spend that on.
I'd rather spend it on younger guys is what I'm saying. I'd rather spend it on guys who are going to be here for this next potential window than knowing Ward's not going to be part of that window unless you stumble upon a quarterback who can do awesome, like from the gate. And that's possible, but I just think it's unlikely.
And I think they're looking at like some of these other teams, like the Texans with CJ Stroud, who were instantly good right away, or the Patriots who drafted Drake May and they were in the Super Bowl in year 2. Like a lot of times it happens faster than you think. Jane Daniels took the Commanders to the NFC Championship game. I think they're going to try to turn this thing around really quickly. And I think they just want to be really good on that one side of the ball. But the Myles Garrett trade gave them not only financial flexibility, but also draft capital so they can go up and get that quarterback.
Yeah, it certainly did help them in that regard. And we'll see. Maybe they'll prove to make the right decision and they can turn things around faster than I'm anticipating here. Let's talk about one thing from training camp here. Live tackling versus no tackling. Big topic of discussion. I know some teams are switching from tackling sessions to no tackling at all. The Steelers are one of them. You're very familiar with Mike McCarthy and what he's done over the years. Is there a right or a wrong in this sense? Is there one that's better than the other? Does tackling help you be more prepared for the season, or is it better to say, hey, we're going to play fast tempo, but we're not going to do any live hitting and hope to go into the season healthier? What is there any data behind this at all?
No, but I think it's all based on what the players feel, right? Because I've always maintained that you can't win a Super Bowl in July and August, but you can lose one. And if you lose a lot of key players before you even get to week 1, you're just cutting yourself off at the knees. However, tackling is important, and you want to instill those fundamentals and those basics. There's a fine line. If there's one strategy that worked, we'd see every team use it. That hasn't been the case.
Yeah, I absolutely love that motto, because you can absolutely lose your Super Bowl early if you lose key players because you're practicing too hard or getting too physical. We'll see how it turns out, and we'll try to see if any of these teams that have the no tackling sessions, if they can make it through camp without any injuries. All right, this is Stacking the Box. It premieres every Tuesday evening. Be sure to check it out. You can follow Marcus's work on X at Marcus_Mosher. You can follow me on X at Tommy Jaggi. You can download the Stacking the Box podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check us out on YouTube. You can follow my written work on stillcurtain.com. Marcus's written work on the Fansided NFL Network. Be sure to check out fansided.com for all your daily sports news and opinions. And thanks again for listening to Stacking the Box.